We are live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to today's Flex RX, where we're getting into this episode 4. So we're going to be talking about fitness, learning, enduring on our way to excellence. So excited to have you guys along on the live. It's going live on Instagram as well. So I got a topic for you guys today, and it's going to be an interesting one, but it's actually something that changed my life pretty heavily. And also, I have the beverage of choice in hand. We got the Pennsylvania Dutch Diet Birch Beer. This is my favorite drink of all time. What happened this last weekend? Saw my family for Easter. Saturday we got to hang in at my sister's, and so my mom hooked it up. Got a couple cases of this. You know what's my favorite? I just don't like spending like $7 on a case of soda. So Mama Hanus hooks it up, and then I'm able to take some back home. As always, shout out to Mama Hanus. But the topic we got on, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Flex RX. So we got some people joining in from Instagram. Drop some comments down below that I can get into coming up later. But the topic that we got for today, so our topic for today is, why do I get up at 4 a.m. in the morning? And why have I been doing this every morning pretty much since 2000, that would be 2013, 2014 in that scenario. So I've been getting up at 4 a.m., 4:30 the majority of days, but definitely since I think it was around 2014, so my second year of college, actually 2013, been getting up in the vicinity of between 4 and 6 a.m., predominantly by 5 a.m. most mornings. Saturday and Sundays, typically those I'm getting up at 5, sometimes if it's a later night, 6, but the majority of times getting up around here. So the topic of today is, why have I been getting up at 4 a.m. and kind of what are those top reasons and why do I recommend it? So I'm going to let you guys know why this worked for me and why it's something that I keep as a principle within my life. So we're going to be diving into this. So I got 10 reasons why this has been a game changer for me and why it's something that I continue to do. So we're going to share the screen. And so the first reason, so why get up early? We're going 4 a.m. or to 5 a.m. Because there's been a variety of times where it's been some seasons of 4:15 a.m., sometimes it's been 5 a.m. But why predominantly do I value these times, and why maybe should you give it a go? So first off, how I got started with it. So the reason that I started getting up early, the reason why this ended up working for me, and probably we're going to go with the first reason we'll tackle here. So the reason that I got started up getting up around, so for me, this was about college. So this was, I think, freshman year of college, sophomore year of college, we'll say. And so I joined the crew team. So my freshman year of college, I wasn't good enough to play any sports. I was a pretty decent track athlete back in high school. I was 10 inches away from our school record in the javelin throw. Wasn't very good at discus. I was okay at shot put. But that's what I thought I would be doing in college. Wasn't good enough to make it, and I wanted to walk onto the team at Rutgers. The coach never emailed me back, pretty much. So that didn't end up working out. And I also, probably there was more controllables that I could have shown up and found that coach and just showed up at practice or something, but it didn't work out. So I was actually, because I was a tall guy, into lifting for some time. So at student orientation or so, I was scouted out by some members of the crew team. And the members of the crew team, usually they're looking at 6 foot plus people, ideally, relatively strong. And then they would just kind of scoop you and try to get you in the crew team. Crew is pretty much rowing. So you have these long boats. It's got a moving slide, which is your seat. So you're kind of doing a squat, and then you're also pulling and doing a row at the same time. And you do boat races. So I did that for a semester, and our practices, I believe, were at 6 a.m. on the water, and I was a campus or two away. So this made me start waking up at 5 a.m. And because of this experience, eventually it just became kind of routine for me. And then later on, I ended up quitting the crew team because I had a lower back injury, and just the ROI on it, I didn't really very much enjoy it and want to get to a very, very high level. My lower back was already acting up. So I had this kind of experience where it opened the door for this. And it was kind of, something that I started doing because it was kind of a must. I couldn't skip practice all the time if I was on this team. And so that's kind of what started it all. And so the first thing for here is, why did I continue doing this once I left the crew team? what was the benefit of continuing this early morning routine, even though I didn't have this mandatory practice anymore where I had to show up early? And so the first thing that really sold me on starting this was 9 to 12. So we're going to do 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. versus 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. So this was something when I got into pharmacy school. So this may have actually been later on, but I had to ask myself, I was like, okay, so when am I more productive? When do I get more things done? Is that going to be between the hours of me staying up late, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. to 12 a.m.? In those 3 hours, am I more productive than if I were to wake up early at 5 a.m. and take action in those hours, those 3 hours? Which 3 hours can I get more done? And for me, I reflected on what I was doing at that nighttime. 9 to midnight, I would just be scrolling on social media. I wasn't doing anything really productive. Wasn't even like often like a time when I was studying a lot, but I was also, unless there was an exam, but I just found that I wasn't getting as much, productive things, moving my life forward and doing the things I wanted to do. It was kind of like stuff that I was, looking back, I was like, I'm not so happy I spent 3 hours doing, scrolling Facebook or scrolling Instagram. I wanted to use that 3 hours to something more productive. So I reflected and I was like, can I be more productive with the hours 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. and probably get more ROI on my time and also just feel better about kind of the decisions I'm making? So it's kind of the first piece where that kind of sold me on it is which 3 hours am I going to get more stuff done? And for me, it was going to be the morning hours. And for me, what I filled those morning hours up with was actually just getting my training session in. I used to train in that early college time. I would train at like 9 or 10 a.m. But after, doing crew, getting into this more early morning situation, then kind of like adopting that, I was now starting to work out at 5 a.m. The gym didn't open until I believe it was 6 a.m. So with that being said, why did I continue this? And so the gym is empty at 5 a.m. or when the time it opens. So Rutgers. So I went to Rutgers. And so the first reason why I think that waking up early is useful, especially from like a fitness context, is there's only 2 times where the gym is like completely empty. There's a lot of times, but the gym is always completely empty the minute that it opens up. So if you struggle because there's so many people in my gym, I can't get a quick workout, or I'm intimidated by all these people trying to get their workouts in, and I'm just like, I don't want to get in people's way. If you get there the minute the gym opens, it's going to be when there's the least amount of people in there. If you're the first one through the door, it's empty. And so this was useful to me. Back at Rutgers, there's only 2 squat racks at Werblin Recreation Center, Bush Campus, back you boys, the stopping grounds. And there's 2 squat racks. So if you are not one of the first like 2 people in the front door, and you're not in this group of people that pretty much like just all met up around like 5:55 a.m. in front of the doors, if you weren't in that group of people, like you weren't getting to a squat rack. This was back when I did powerlifting too, and I would, for better or for worse, I'd be at that squat rack for like 60 minutes or sometimes even 90 minutes. This is where I met one of my best friends, actually. Shout out to Kev, Kevin Squared. And so for me, I would have had to tack on an extra, 30 minutes to my workout, because sometimes it's just, especially with different heights and the way that those squat racks were situated, it was hard to work in with certain people at certain times. So it was that much more a sense of urgency for me to get in early to make sure that my workout is as quick as possible, because during powerlifting, you can have 3-hour workouts and they do take a while. So I was trying to minimize that as well and get it done before my classes started. So that was something that was useful to me. So if you're somebody that struggles with efficiency in the gym, there's no one in there. If you're someone who struggles with that gym intimidation, there's no one in there the minute the gym opens. So that may be a useful time for you to get in there. And so this also will allow you to get faster workouts, because less people in the way, less people you have to work in with, you're going to be able to get through your workouts much quicker. So if time is of the essence, use the mornings. And so now we talked a lot about, fitness-wise, why is this going to be useful? And so the next one I have, I may actually have 11 things here, but this is going to be more in terms of productivity, but cannot be bothered. Alone time. It's quiet. And so during the early mornings of the day, let's say that you don't go immediately to the gym. You wake up first thing, you go to the gym. You can do that. That's what I like to do. But if you're someone who's just an early riser, and like not many people are up between the hours of 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. So if you're somebody too that the day just kind of takes you away, You get all these text messages throughout the day. You feel the need to respond to all of them. If you're able to get up before everybody else, before this onslaught of text messages, you're going to be able to get that peace of mind and really set up your day for success. You're prepared for the day. You can get the annoying things that are lingering on your mind done. It's like, man, I still have to get to that thing. But now you have a 2-hour block or a 1-hour block where you can just get ahead of those things. And I feel that sometimes that peace of mind, we're just like, you have less stressors going on at all times. Also, if you just like to read a book or do anything, this is that time, those morning hours, just where like you don't have anybody, knocking at the door. You don't have, again, text messages, emails, the workday getting ahead of you. I think it's a good time to kind of be able to focus on your hobbies or focus on kind of the things that you want to do without kind of having any, pressures outside of what you want to get done with that time. And so I find that's very valuable too. And sometimes just like, it's so hard in today's day and age of 2024 to just get that time alone, get that time without being bothered by like our cell phones and all that. And this kind of plays into getting ahead of the day rather than catch up. So this is, again, kind of on the more productivity side of things. Like if you're able to get ahead, you get these deep work blocks done. So you wake up early, you're able to, in my case, I like to train 5 a.m. to 7, try to get back here around 7 or so in this office so I can get ahead of the workday before messages are coming in, and I'm just able to kind of set up the day for success. Again, before actually like things get ahead. And then I have to like kind of, find spare 30 minutes between other tasks. And then I feel like once the day gets going, it's kind of hard to find those gaps where you can really make that, do the less time intensive tasks or the less time sensitive tasks. Like if somebody has an emergency and there's a fire to put out, quote unquote, that's why you probably want to get back to those things quick. So you are on edge. I'm on edge during like the work days. Like, all right, if there's something important that comes up, you want to be able to ready to take action, get involved. But like, if nobody's up, nobody's responding, you can send out those texts. People will get back to you, or they can get back to you later. You can send out those Slack messages. You can go through the emails. People will get back to you later, but at least it gives you some time to just focus on what needs to get done. And then next one, I'm just going to add this to kind of what we just mentioned. Yeah, it's kind of what I just mentioned, but there's a whole book on it. Deep Work. This is going to be by Cal Newport. I haven't read the book, but it's kind of like one of those books where the title is kind of enough for me. So it's called Deep Work, and it's just kind of like setting aside time where like you only focus on one thing. And for me, what's helped me there, quote unquote, another great book is The One Thing, and I feel like that one's really kind of knocked this home for me. By having these deep work time slots where like no one can like bother you, no one's texting you, you're alone, able to focus on the one thing that's most important. Or in this case, deep work is kind of just like getting into, things where you're aligned on one thing. You're really able to focus, be creative, etc. So they're kind of saying the same thing. But some things that help me there, I have a kitchen timer that I keep on my desk at all times. I'll usually have some caffeine, or I'll have some gum, and then I'll just knock that out to really get into my zone to get some deep work things. Like again, I think I mentioned this in the last video. I put together some retreats. We do 2 annual retreats for the Healthy Flex Prescription, the program that I run. And so those are not something where, just set aside an hour and like get it all done. It's like, no, it's dedicated time. What does this itinerary look like? Who do I need to talk to? Guest speakers, what hikes? And that's going to take, a bunch of deep work times where like I'm not on edge, kind of like trying to get back to people. So deep work blocks, really useful, especially early in the morning when nobody's bothering you. Next up, we got number 5, which is, it's kind of a mess in my notes. But number 6, technically, is days feel longer. So right now, it's 2 p.m. I've been awake for 10 hours. And I feel sometimes I like forget. And I think like a lot of times the day just gets away from us. And so if you get up earlier in the morning, the days just feel longer. But I mean, I guess it's kind of like, because they technically are until they're not. You can always say that. So it's like your day is very long at 8 p.m., but then your day ends. And the person who, slept in, they're going to say the same thing at 11 p.m. They're like, wow, I had these extra 2-3 hours. So in that kind of situation, but like the days do feel longer. So I've been up for like 10 hours. I worked out like 8 hours ago, which is, it just feels like the day has been so much longer. And I feel like I've gotten so much more done. I've really moved the needle forward because I've dedicated that time to get things done, or my workout was more efficient. And I feel that that's really, really useful for me. And I feel more fulfilled too. And I feel, I'm not sure if this is in my notes too, but me and Nicole, we're going to be starting a family. And if I can get a lot of the deep work stuff done, the projects are taken care of. I don't have to use, the time when everybody's up and doing stuff, where maybe I want to see friends, or maybe I want to, hang with my family, etc. Like, now you're not using that opportunity time. You've kind of taken that in a place where, like, it's not high bidded on time. Like, people aren't bidding on that time to kind of get your attention. And I feel like that's something that's useful as well. So we're going to go into number 7. So number 7 is going to be, this is probably one of the primary reasons that I actually wake up early. So this is going to be 7 is start your day in the win column. That's going to be momentum. So this is one of the, I was going to say the number one, this is one of the most important or biggest reasons for me in liking waking up early. And I'm not sure if it's specific to training, if it's specific to just getting a win in the win column. But I remember, it may have been Jocko Willink, but I remember somebody gave one of those, I think it was a commencement speeches, and he said, every day you wake up in the morning, it was a military guy. He said, every day you wake in the morning, make your bed, because that's your first win in the win column for the day. And that sets you up for success and it gives you momentum. And for me, I'm not someone who makes my bed every morning. full transparency there. But what helps me, and I kind of think I get the same value in terms of getting up early and then getting my workout done. If it's 7:30 a.m. and I've already gotten a workout done, the day in my fitness kind of, side, in my fitness brain, is a success. I already have a win in the win column. Now, when I show up to things like this, I'm like, okay, I'm speaking with integrity because I did something that's difficult. Or in terms of fitness, I'm like, okay, I did the thing that I talk about a lot. So you can go into imposter syndrome and all that stuff as well. But I feel like there's just the momentum of it as well. Maybe it's not always domain specific, but doing something hard early in the morning. Let's say that you're writing a book. If you wrote 10 pages at like 6 a.m. and then you actually get into your day job at 9 a.m., you may show up a little bit differently because you're like, oh, I already got a win in the win column from doing the other thing. And then I feel you show up differently during that workday, in that day job or those meetings, et cetera, because you just get that boost of confidence. So that, I think, is probably my biggest takeaways. I think it's exercise specific. So maybe you're a runner, get up early, run before work. But I feel there's a lot of value there in just getting the blood pumping, doing something difficult early in the morning that gives you downstream good days. Or it just puts you in a mindset where you're ready to take on other challenges for the day. Number 8, your day isn't ruined if you wake up late. Your day is not ruined if you wake up late. Let's say that you work at, let's say work starts at 9 a.m. You typically wake up at like 8:30 and you roll into your work from home situation. Or let's say you got a 30-minute commute, but you usually arrive at work at like 8:50 or something. You roll up as time starts. If you sleep in, you may be not so happy about it. You may be late for work. Maybe that's not going to be a good thing, et cetera, et cetera. In the case that if you wake up early, you're kind of waking up at your own kind of personal discipline, your own personal rules. Yes, it is kind of a detriment. It's like, dang, I didn't win the game that I set, but still, at least you're not, going to let your boss down, your manager down, your friends down in terms of there's other things scheduled. So I feel like you're also playing from a place of safety where, you have a place of success. If I wake up, let's say 5 a.m., but also like, as long as I'm up by 8:30 or 9, like I'm not going to miss the workday. So I may lose the battle of the time I want to wake up, but I'm not going to lose the war of showing up to work. And you can always, I'm not a fan of kicking the can down the street and making it a problem for later. But when it comes to your workout, you can always do it later. You can always do it after work. You can always do it at 8 p.m. And if it need be, you can. Just like I'm a big fan of, in terms of a week context, plan your workouts. If you have 4 workouts, do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because something is going to come up. There's going to be a curveball where Tuesday you can't train, and now you just move it all one day back. But you're playing from a place of safety because you have 3 opportunities to push your workouts back. Same thing here is if you shoot to get up early and you end up sleeping in a little bit, then you're always going to be more prepared. Like, okay, I still woke up by 8, got to work, did the work thing. Let me just get a quick, hour-long arm session down at like 5 p.m. when it's a party at the gym. Hey, different strokes for different folks. Some people like the party that's going down at 5 p.m. at Planet Fitness. So start your day. Your day isn't ruined if you wake up late. Number 9 is you can relax at night. You got a lot done. You got a lot done because you were more focused. So you can relax at night. And so this one is another one that's big for me. I mean, these are the 9 or 10 reasons that I do this personally. So this one's big for me because when it comes to relaxing at night, it's kind of the place of momentum as well. It's my day is already a success. I got my workout done. I got some deep work done. You know, the workday was completed. Now it's 5 p.m. and I can relax. In other circumstances, again, float your boat, whatever floats your boat. If you want to, work out at 5 p.m., you get up in the morning, you do your work, and it's kind of like, oh, I still got to train. And sometimes, as we said, the working from a place of safety where you do have these kickbacks, you can, if need be, you can kick the can down the road, but we ultimately don't always want to do that. But even in the case of, this, you can relax at night. So if your workout's planned for 5 p.m., you can only kick that back to 8 p.m. And then there's more of a likelihood that you may kick that back, another day. I'm tired after work. Oh, I already relaxed. I started watching Netflix. Okay, we'll do it tomorrow. Same thing happens. But if you make it a plan to get it in the morning, then there's more opportunities to kick it down during the day. And so you have more opportunities for success. So that's in my opinion there. But with this one being said as well, relaxing at night is like you already got the things done. And typically you get more done because you have less distractions. When you're working under less distractions or you're training with less distractions, less people in the gym, you tend to get more done because you're not distracted and you end up having more time left over to then double into what you want to get done or to spend time with your friends, your family, or actually to get that recovery from being productive, which is also valuable. Play some Jenga or whatever you like to do. Next up, we got number 10. And this one is kind of within what we just talked about as far as getting stuff done at the end of the day. Working out after work is a special kind of mental I spelled that one wrong. Perseverance. I don't think that's correct, but we're going to go with it. Perseverance. So a lot of people too, they'll say, wow, like you wake up early and you train early. Like that's so hard. I think it's super hard to train after an entire workday when you're mentally spent. You get into the gym at 5 p.m. You got to go through all the people with broccoli head haircuts and these 15-year-olds deadlifting like 7 plates right now. And then you got to do your own training. I think that is a lot of mental hula hoops to jump through to get an effective training session in. So it's all relative. So with this one being said too is I think because I've been in a position back when I was doing rotations in pharmacy school where I did train after work. There's a time where I would do my full workout before my rotation work. So that'd be like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. I would finish that up. I would go to my full rotation situation. It was like community pharmacy, like ShopRite or something. I would do that work day for 8 hours. And then I would go back to the gym and I would do my squat everyday program. It was just some stuff I was trying. I'm all for trying stuff. And I just remember it took some extra kind of mental, kick to get back into the gym or just to get into the gym after work. So I'm like, man, it was a long day, pretty done with it. And then you still got to get that workout done. So for me, total respect for anybody getting those PM sessions done in the gym. I think it takes a special mental perseverance, which I think you can put a system towards. But I think that's definitely challenging as well. So I actually wrote my list wrong. So we have 11 reasons of why I recommend and why it's worth for me getting up early. So number 11 is going to be nothing gets in the way of a good morning. So nothing can get in the way of a good morning if you're waking up early. And what I mean by this is nothing can get in the way because if you are traveling with family, you get your training done before everybody wakes up. Your training's done. Your day's already a success. And that is, to me, a good morning. If you're big on like pushing your hobbies forward and you're traveling, like you can get that deep work done, you can get that hobby moved forward, you can read that book, and boom, like then everybody else wakes up. If you're with family, if you're traveling, you can train, you can do your hobbies. So if you just have that skill or that mental gear or that you establish this gear where you can wake up early and get stuff done, I think there's a lot of value for it because in all situations, especially if you're on like a big work trip, or a seminar thing, I think I have a couple coming up. I'm still able to get up early, get my workout done, and show up, more ready to take on the day. Or I can get more done around those seminar type kind of things. So these are 11 reasons why waking up early in the morning has been helpful for me and something that I'm going to continue doing at least this year, but maybe potentially decades to come. So hope this one was helpful for you guys. Let me know if you're going to give it a go. So let's get into some Q&A for today. I also was going to get into, how to get up early. But we can get, if anyone has some questions on that, some cheat codes for getting up earlier, I got some of those as well. Let's dive into some Q&A that we got for today. Hello, Kevin. Hope all is well. Everything is great. Now that you're here, Greg, everything is great. Always shout out to you for making it on these live. You're so amazing. I hope that you're proud of yourself. Thank you. I appreciate that. Did you have a lot of leadership roles in college sports? What do you think positively impacted your leadership abilities today? Did you just fall into it, or were you naturally a leader? So I was definitely not a natural leader. And I still think that there's a lot of room for improvement for me today. And I feel that that's always a piece of leadership too, is knowing that the journey is never done. It's kind of like you never arrive at fitness. It's always a game you got to constantly be playing to try to get better, to be a better communicator in terms of lifting, to get that next workout done, to make a good eating decision at your next meal. So it's kind of like always a game that you're going to be playing. And so with that one being said, did you have a lot of leadership roles in college sports? I think I had very minimum in college. So in college, I got picked up by the crew team. I was decent. I was one of maybe the top 4 or 5 guys. And so I think I made first boat, which was cool. I think I was first boat or second boat. I thought I made first boat, but I don't know. But I did that for a little bit of time. I definitely wasn't the captain. I remember the guy, there was an ex-swimmer who was like 6'5". He was incredible, and he was probably the top performer. And so he kind of like took on like the leadership role kind of. And this is something that I appreciate a lot. I feel that leadership styles, I feel that if you heard the saying, it's like, don't throw rocks from a glass house. Like, I think that person who is the leader in the thing that you are doing, the best at it, can successfully use clues. And I feel like they have a lot of value to bring. So the top performer kind of assumed that leadership position. And I think that worked very well. So sometimes I think that that's useful. And also when the best person at a certain thing, let's say you're on the chess team and the person who plays chess and like wins all the chess games, they do well. I think they already earned everybody's respect. We're talking chess right now. So they got everyone's respect. But when you see that person who has the top skills keep showing up to refine their skills, keeps playing, keeps drilling, that kind of, I think, downstreams that leadership by example to always try to get better. I feel like that's where real great leaders are. And that's something that I think when I was young, I was captain in track and I think mainly just track. And so I was the captain in that, but I wasn't a big vocal guy. I was very nervous about speaking in public speaking, et cetera. That's why I didn't go for class president my senior year. And so it was just like a lead from example kind of thing. And I think if you distribute or you show that you are working to get better, and even if you are highly skilled and really good at a certain thing, I feel like those are really valuable leadership qualities. Like if LeBron James or Kobe Bryant, they show unwavering work ethic, it doesn't really matter that much of the words that they say, but you kind of can just see the evidence of action of who they are. And I think that speaks way more volumes than any hoorah, go run, or work hard can do. I think it's what you do. That's where true leadership is. So what things do you think positively impacts your leadership abilities today? Things that, I guess, reading is a good one. And then I think it's just doing stuff. And I think for me too, like I've built a following in Instagram, and that's trying to just pour value in. So like it's not just like selfies, but like they're usually like 3-paragraph essays. If you don't read my captions, it makes me sad. I actually work pretty hard on them. But after posting like 5,000 times and competing, I think, what is it now, 10, 15 times, I just have enough evidence to speak on to help people through the certain thing. Does that make me a leader? Not necessarily, but like it just I have like stories and stuff to help other people accomplish similar goals. But I feel like communication skills has been something that I've been working on, the last couple of years. And then I think it's just like learning. And I think great leaders just have to have a lot of experience. And especially when it comes to writing books and stuff, Ryan Holiday and Robert Greene had a great quote. It's like, if you want to write a book or if you want to be a mentor, like you need to be speaking from a lot of experience So challenging yourself, getting out there, picking up new hobbies. I think that that's something that's going to make you a better leader. Just getting uncomfortable, because then you can help other people when they get uncomfortable. Did you just fall into it, or were you naturally a leader? I don't feel like I was a natural leader. I was a very shy kid growing up, not a very vocal guy. And so I guess like over time, it was just trying to lead by example, and then eventually actually could put words to it, because then I built experience and stories. And I feel like that actually has been probably more helpful. So kind of to be a great leader, kind of put a lot of experiences in. Wait, you and Nicole are starting a family as an expecting now? If so, congratulations. We are not expecting, but like next goals, we'll see how the year plays out. But I appreciate that a ton, Greg. What time exactly do you wake up right now? So right now it's a battle every morning, and kind of like fitness, it's like every workout's a battle. Showing up to the gym is a battle. Waking up in the morning is always going to be a battle. But then again, you just build up evidence for it. So usually 4 a.m. or 4:15 a.m. That's my goals, like Monday through Thursday. Thursday night, I have a later work day, so I'm up trying to be around 5 a.m. So 4 is the goal. 4:15 is like the stretch, because I think I can condense my morning routine to about 30 minutes. But typically it's going to take me like 30, 35. And so if I want to be at the gym as soon as the doors open, that's going to be 5 a.m. My workouts take about 2 hours. So if I want to get that done, then I want to, be up at 4. My morning stuff is done 3:35 or 3:40. Dogs are fed, pre-workout, I had my meal, etc. And then I'm good to go. So that's kind of like what the goal is in terms of like me getting up, getting out. That's kind of around 4:15. What time do you go to bed? Great question. So the big piece with like getting up early, and I'll share it with you guys, kind of like the strategies that I wrote down for getting up early if it is a goal for you. So let's open up the whiteboard, because for me it's been a game changer. It's been a life changer for me. Honestly, I don't think that I would be have gotten so much done, I think, in my career kind of place than if I were not waking up so early. So how to get up early? How to get up earlier? Also, Jesse James West just put out a really good video on this too, and I think that some people also gave some good feedback on how to get up earlier. So the big piece too is just go to bed early. It's not a badge of honor just getting up at 4 a.m. It's tough, but like let's be real here. Let's be really real. Whenever you get out of bed in the morning, it sucks. You're in these comfy blankets. It's probably cold in the bedroom. And then no matter what, be it 4 a.m., be it 5 a.m., be it 6 a.m. or 8 a.m., it always sucks. Like getting out of the comfy bed is not fun. So you might as well rip the Band-Aid and make it earlier. But like for that to be productive, you got to go to bed early. And so aim for 8 hours. So for me, I'm not that fun of a guy because the way that my weekdays end, besides like, Thursday, or so like Sunday through Wednesday, my days end around here. I try to be in bed at 7. Try to be in bed at 7 p.m. And then I'll do like an hour-long wind down. So I'll probably just like be on YouTube, just watching some nonsense, allow myself to wind down for like 45 or an hour, or I'll read a book. And I think a book is probably more productive, but I can't say I'm the most disciplined guy. So go to bed early. So aim for 8 hours. So what this looks like for me, for example, bed at 7 p.m., sleep by 8 p.m., up at 4 a.m. So that gives me about 8 hours. Number 2, another good tip is set 5 alarms. I set an alarm for 8 and he woke me at 7. Set 5 alarms. So for me, it's like if I want to wake up at 4 a.m., I'm going with a 4. I got a 4 a.m. alarm. I got a 4:02. I got a 4:05. And then I got the danger zones. I got like a 4:15. And then a last kind of, ditch effort. It's probably going to be like 4 a.m., 4:30 or like 4:20. So that's usually how I do it. It's not one alarm by any means. It's not one alarm. But definitely having multiple is going to be good. And then plan your day. So I struggled this last Saturday or Sunday. I think it was Sunday. Me and Nicole didn't really have anything planned, and I wanted to keep my routine going of getting up early because I just get a lot of value from it. I get a longer day, can get more done, but there was no sense of urgency because there was nothing planned for the day, which kind of like brought it on me. I'm like, all right, like if I get up at 5 and get my workout done and I'm back like at 8 a.m., like what is this doing like for me on that day? So set some intentions, set intentions with your time. Like why is it going to be useful to have more time in your day? And sometimes like just sleeping in maybe actually be that thing that is going to be, worth it. If you got nothing on a Sunday, like, hey, lazy Sunday, wake up at 8, go get your training in and like, have a shorter day, but you got some extra Z's in, and that's cool too. But this was something that I know mentally for me, if you have a sense of urgency of stuff that you highly value that you want to get done, then you're going to have more of that urgency to actually wake up and adhere to the wake up times. So that's kind of like what I would be thinking along those lines. And that was kind of like a good, what's it called? It was a good reminder of just like plan your days ahead of time. And like, because what is it Bruce Lee? I'm going to butcher this quote, but he's like, if you love your life, don't waste time because time is what your life is made of. It's something along those lines. It was said way better than that. I mean, Bruce Lee knows what's up. But that's kind of the same thing. So like plan your days, plan what you want to get done, have intentions, and that's how you're going to get a great life. So I joined late, watched it all. Awesome. Let's see if we got any questions from Instagram. So we've been going for a pretty good amount. Any questions we got? Rutgers, I went to Binghamton. Yes, I went to Rutgers. I was class of 2018, pharmacy school. Good times. It was an RA and a grad assistant for a year RA and a year of a grad assistant. So I enjoyed my time at Rutgers. It was a really good school. I won Smith machine at my gym for doing squats. It sounds like that's a Planet Fitness. Totally cool. Just like if I'm also doing Smith machine squats right now, and you can get some really, really awesome workouts done. Because you have it's more stationary than a barbell. I just really would be pushing the range of motion. Get a really big stretch in your quads, get really strong from that, and you'll be pretty great. Seattle Sass said, think twice about starting a family. What are you trying to say? All right, what other questions we got? All right. And it's always easiest on these perseverance. I thought there was an R before that second V because that's how I spelled it in my notes. Because that looks like perseverance instead of perseverance, but maybe it's just like, pronunciation issue. When's a good sleep and wake up time? It really matters. Like I would say, what is your preferred wake up time? And then work 8 hours back. Ideally, it's really difficult for a lot of people to get 8 hours of full sleep in 2024, just being realistic. Maybe start with maybe if you're getting 6 hours a night, go for 7. So let's say you want to start at like 6 a.m. or you're historically getting 6 hours of sleep. Let's shoot for 7. Let's take baby steps. So if you want to wake up at 6 a.m., I would work that back to 11 p.m. You want to be asleep. So then try to be in bed by 10 and give yourself an hour to wind down. And so that's what I would recommend. So just work that back. And then that should be more realistic for you. Because a lot of times, and too, we've seen this in HFP, my coaching program, where some people come in and hey, I'm only getting 4 hours of sleep or 5 hours of sleep. We're not going to be like, okay, you must get 8 hours of sleep. Would be nice, but I think that the battle is going to be the biggest battle worth having is going from, let's say, 3 hours of sleep to 4 hours of sleep. That's going to be a huge benefit. But going 4 hours of sleep to 5 hours of sleep is also going to be a big benefit, but less than that of that first additional hour you got. So instead of setting these unrealistic goals, make sure to have you work that up over time. Because if you go from 4 hours of sleep to trying to get 8, it's going to be difficult because you're just not used to it. You're going to be sitting in bed, not actually falling asleep for some time. But overall, work that up slowly because those first hours are going to be most health impactful. A concern I previously had about losing my breasts during weight loss has been overshadowed by absorption of my loose skin. I'm not sure what this is saying exactly. A concern I previously had about losing my breasts during weight loss has been overshadowed to absorption of my loose skin. So what I'm hearing or what I think I'm reading is I've been nervous to have weight loss because I did not want to lose my breasts and or to have an issue with loose skin. And the situation that happens with loose skin is it tends to be, if you think about a rubber band, if we hold a rubber band, if we stretch it a pretty good amount, it returns right back. So if we're overweight, by let's say like 50 pounds just for like, 6 months, it's probably our skin is going to be elastic. It's going to return back to its old size. There's other variables, being hydrated overall to ensure we maximize our skin's elasticity. And nothing is perfect in this, but if we have a rubber band that's stretched for, let's say, to a greater degree for 6 months, it may not return all the way back to the same size. And then also, if we have that mild stretch for, let's say, multiple years, and then we see that successful weight loss, then that also could lead to a situation of the rubber band not completely returning. So it's often a time and a magnitude situation. The best controllables that we have to manage that is to, as best we can, try to be properly hydrated. So drink enough water, enough salt, and I would say maybe even be moisturized. But when you're stacking up those votes of having hydrated skin, just like a hydrated muscle, it's more elastic. It's able to stretch and return at a greater amount. It's more, again, elastic. So those are kind of the votes or the surface area of luck we want to increase. Being properly hydrated as best we can. And then as far as, losing breast during fat loss, breast tissue, I think there is a good amount of fat tissue that's stored there. So if you do get super shredded, you may lose some breast size, which it happens. Happens to me too, because I hold some fat in my breast as well. And when I get lean, they are actually, in terms of mass, smaller, but they look bigger. Always followed for the value and observable goals. Awesome. Your medical history too. Appreciate you. Thoughts on pre-workout stretching, especially so early in the morning? I think that I don't recommend pre-workout stretching. So the reason why is there's been research shown that says that static stretching before your training reduces your ability to exert power and strength. So you may not perform at your highest level. There's also research to show that having your muscles in stretch positions, I got a couple things on this. So also that having your muscles in stretch positions under load gets the best return on our muscles. So that builds to, training full range of motion, getting under a weighted stretch of the muscle, very anabolic, good for growth. Just stretching with no load and then going into a workout, you may lose a little bit of strength going into that specific workout. So if I were to try to balance this out as best I can, is going to be maybe do post-workout stretching if you want to do static stretching. Also on that end as well, in terms of what's the goal of stretching? Is it to increase our flexibility, increase our range of motion? That's done very well by full range of motion strength training. There's also been some studies that have come out that have shown that, static stretching versus lifting weights, I don't know how they evaluated the technique exactly, but I would assume if you're doing full range of motion training, going through the full ranges of your joints under load, you're going to be in a good position here. But they both got the same improvements in flexibility. But these ones also got bigger muscles. So if you're doing full range of motion training, having that stretch under load, you're going to be in a good spot overall for improving your flexibility. If you really specifically want to improve your static stretchability, your flexibility, your range of motion overall, I would just do some static stretching post-workout. And then also, but remember, whenever we expand our flexibility, we increase our range of motion that we're able to reach. You want to train that new ability that you can reach in terms of proficiency. Because now that you have that range, if you have no strength or proprioception in that new range, then you could be more injury susceptible. So big fan of training with full range of motion, and that could be helpful as well along the way. All right, so I think that's pretty much everything. I think we got a couple. I'll take these last two ones from YouTube. Again, if you guys are watching live, best places to get comments in or questions is going to be on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, because I can see those directly on this feed. I use StreamYard. So what's your opinion on Ozempic? So Ozempic, I think, is an interesting thing. I think it's an interesting thing. But what's interesting to me about it is it seems to just increase satiety, or satiety response to food. So what that looks like, and this is what this was from Dr. Mike Israetel, which is helped me really visualize satiety. There's a certain point when you eat so much food. So when we're very hungry, it's obvious to know when we're hungry. We all know what hunger is. You don't eat for 8 hours, you're probably going to be a little bit hungry. On the flip side, let's say you go to a buffet and you eat all the food until it's super delicious. You eat until max capacity. You feel sick. You want to vomit. That is satiety. That is reaching the extreme of satiety. What Ozempic is going to do is it's going to move this a little bit earlier. And genetically, people have that in a certain way moved. So it lowers the point where we feel this overwhelming satiety and maybe that feeling of, just feeling super full. And when we feel super mega full, that's when we may want to vomit. So that is going to be, I think that it reduces that satiety point so that we just feel more full from like less amount of foods. What are the complications this brings up? A lot of people will just hyper under consume food and be in drastic calorie deficits. And this can also increase our risk of losing muscle. Sometimes, it's the, I don't have a good metaphor for it, but it's like, which is the battle we want to win? It's like, okay, if we lose a little bit of muscle, but like we're 50% body fat and we're, having negative health complications because of excess body fat, and we lose a little bit of muscle, but we lose a lot of body fat, this is probably so health promoting that this doesn't matter as much. So sometimes it's those questions that we have to have asked. But if we want to retain lean body mass, retain our muscle mass, while if you're using Ozempic or something, this is what I would recommend. Strength train along the way, still track your food. And I would say the big piece is get sufficient protein intake. The difficult thing when we bring this satiety point down, when we feel more satiated from the food we're consuming, protein becomes so hyper satiating because just in a normal context, like protein is very satiating. But when we now have this increased, sensitivity to the satiety of foods, now protein is probably even more. You build an aversion maybe to it. So probably in like when someone loses a lot of weight from Ozempic, it's harder to get in so much protein because it's just so filling, so satiating that it's hard to get in enough. So I would track your protein, try to be in a good spot there. Let's say like 1 gram per pound goal weight, probably through protein shakes. I'd recommend doing that and strength training or retaining your strength along the way. So that's my opinion. From like a medical standpoint, BMI is not perfect, but body fat percentage is a pretty good health correlator that we can have. And so if we're able to reduce, someone's body fat from like who's historically struggled to lose body fat, and we reduce that from the 40% to 10%, just like sleep, it's the first 10 pounds you lose of that excess body fat that's going to be most health promoting. Just like somebody, if they go from sleeping 3 hours to 4 hours, you don't have to go all the way to 8 hours. It would be ideal, but that most health promoting additional sleep is that first hour you add. So for people that have historically struggled to lose body fat and it's causing negative health outcomes, I'm all for, using Ozempic to help. The complications or the trade-offs that I would consider is probably having less protein. So make sure that you're putting added awareness on how much protein am I consuming and am I losing strength? Because we want to retain our muscle while we lose that body fat. Great question. How do you maintain energy on a cut? I feel like I lack energy during the cut. Sometimes it's kind of like avoiding hunger. So like it would be ideal that our energy is just going to be, super perfect, 100%. We feel great as we lose weight along the way, but it's not every day you are. And you're probably increasing the likelihood that you're going to have some like low energy days, which is, it's fair. Like you're getting leaner. So that's okay. It just is. It's not bad. It's not good. You're in a calorie deficit, which is literally a lack of energy because calories are energy. So sometimes it's just like, it's not bad. It's not good. It's just what is. And just getting through those days. To reduce it or to manage it, maybe having less of a amount of a deficit. If it's really causing you, issues, lethargy, etc., and that's causing you, negative outcomes in your actual life, then you may want to reduce the magnitude of the deficit. So increase your calories a little bit, maybe slow down your rate of loss. But, sometimes you just got to rip the Band-Aid and take the good with the bad. And some of the bad that comes with a cut is more vegetables, less delicious food, and sometimes some more hunger pains. And sometimes you're going to have some less energy. So vitamin C also helps. Vitamin C being caffeine. Ozempic. Oh, man, you got me. Yeah, so sorry. I saw the Ozempic and I was like, all right, I never really got to give my like full context opinion on Ozempic. So it gave me the opportunity to kind of talk about what I think about it. Ozempic, the trend of having oats. I think I saw something about this recently where people were like Ozempic and like, I don't know enough to know if anyone's doing anything different, but like oatmeal is, I think it's relatively satiating per calorie. I mean, if I had like a Ozempic type food, it'd be watermelon. The amount of volume per calorie you can get from that, I think is a major cheat code. I think oats are pretty solid, but like there's probably other foods I would put on my list. Like for satiety per calorie, okay, we're going to go with Kevin's Ozempic fighters. Just lean protein sources in general. So like a ton of egg whites, lean chicken breasts. We're going to go watermelon is going to be on my list. We're going celery because it's practically just crunchy water. Bags of salad with 5 calories, Skinny Girl, balsamic vinaigrette dressing. And we're going to go carrots on my list. I think that those are going to beat Ozempic. But I still like that people are keeping in mind satiety. So that is going to do it for this episode of FlexRx. This was a lot of fun. We got some great questions, and we talked about getting up early in the morning. So if you guys like this, please give it a like on YouTube. That's the best place to watch the recordings and also the best place to submit questions. But I appreciate you guys and love you on Instagram. And I appreciate you guys hanging with me for this one from whatever platform. But I will see you guys next week. Next week will be at 1 p.m. because I do have a flight to catch. So 1 p.m. EST will be next week's. Have a great week. Bye.